Hello my lovelies and welcome back to BrittneyOriel. Thank you for tuning in yet again to another one of my videos. This video is going to be a follow-up to our last video where we discussed 3 parenting terms. Within this video, we're going to be discussing more modern terms within the parenting realm. We're going to be discussing tiger parents, free-range parents, and latch-key children, which is a type of parenting. So in learning about these types of parenting, you learn what not to do and why not to do it. So we begin with tiger parenting. The term tiger parenting is a bit misleading because it's more culturally relevant. So this term came about within the Asian culture. So they used tiger, and the person that introduced this term used tiger to represent this type of parenting. But within the animal kingdom, tigers tend to be soft and protective with their cubs and not externally. But tiger parents, as it relates to actual parenting, they are not soft with their cubs. So as I mentioned, this term was birthed within the Asian culture and a reference to, let's say, the American culture. This is representative of a stage mom, within pageants, or even within, let's say, sports or extracurriculars. So these parents are very strict and demanding. They expect obedience at all times. They constantly pressure and push their children towards academic success, extracurricular success, with the vision of them obtaining, which is more pressure, a particular prestigious job, be it the doctors and the lawyers and that whole category of jobs. So most times it's coupled with a very strict routine that incorporates maybe lessons. Again, it can be in the direction of academics, so that could be academic lessons, or it can be in the direction of extracurriculars, so that will be swim meets or track and field or whatever particular sport that they're pushing. This particular routine doesn't really make room for leisure time or social time, because these parents see that as a waste of time and as it's taken away from the academics, which is the focus of, well, in the parents' eyes, it should be the focus of what the children are exerting their energy towards. So when I'm explaining this, I'm going to keep it towards the academic realm, but please keep making reference to extracurriculars as well, because some tiger parents also exist. Let's say if they see their children have particular abilities, or they themselves have a dream of becoming an Olympian, or they want their child to become an Olympian. This particular parenting style can be applied towards those, but just for the sake of the length of the video, sticking just towards academic. So these children have to face very grand consequences at the hands of their parents if they fail or even get below the expected grade. So there's some tiger parents that they want a complete grade average of A+. So if their child dips to an A or dips to a B, that they're grand consequences for their failure or lack of success. These particular consequences can range from alienation. So within certain cultural extremes, they may actually alienate you from the family if you fail your academics or if you don't go to college or university. It can also be in the form of abuse. So an example of this, it can range from as far as a physical abuse, a hit, a slap or more. Or it can go towards very vile and hurtful and destructive words thrown at the child. It can be explicit, and it can be something as simple as stupid or failure or a waste of time and all these things to make them feel ashamed of themselves for their performance or underperformance within a particular realm. Of course, this type of parenting is going to manifest at different stages and educational stages as well. So they will be a particular way with their toddler, they will be a particular way with their child, with their teenager and their young adult, and so on. So this happens for a number of reasons. Now, these videos aren't an arena to just shame parents, because most of these parents just are really trying their best. So understand that before you become defensive, or maybe if you recognize that you may have had a tiger parent, understand that they're rooted in good places. So these are just a few reasons why parents parent in this way. First off, cultural socialization is a big player in this game. Within the Asian culture, academic success and achieving a certain level of grade point average is very important within the homes, within the village, within the community, within the society. So they are cultured in that expectation that you must perform to a certain academic stance. Also within Indian families, those kinds of skills are seen as, let's say, status symbols. So it's very shameful if it is you don't perform a certain level within maths, within science, within whatever subject realm. These types of parents may also come from very poor backgrounds. So they may see their children as one, a way out for the family, a way to make more money, or a way to make better choices and have a better life. So if it is that the parents really didn't have much choices in their life, or they failed to perform the way that they should have in their education, they tend to push and pressure their children to make sure and accomplish a certain level so that they don't have to go through the struggle that they did as well. We just live in a society that deprioritizes social health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health, and prioritizes work and financial success and stability. So if you have a parent, or if you were cultured in a way that you became a parent that doesn't see mental health as something even worth investing time or care into, then again, without you even knowing, you completely neglect it. Because if you don't think it's important, first of all, if you don't think it's important for yourself, then you're not going to think it's important for your teenager or your child. This type of parenting may also come from parents that failed in their education or in their extracurricular, be it that maybe they got an injury when they were younger so they couldn't follow through with a particular sporting dream, or that they never took their book seriously, or even that their parents didn't have the means to give them the education that they would have liked to have. This regret within their life, they tend to push on to their children to make sure that at least their children do it. They didn't do it, but you all have to do it, and you all don't have a choice in it because I know how good it is for you. So of course there is a barrage of effects onto the children that are parented in this tiger parenting style. Now, just to put it out there, of course, most of the time, these children come out with fantastic education attainments. If it was in the sporting realm or the co-curricular realm, they come out with fantastic success. Some of them may even make it to the Olympics. So there are obviously pros. But what makes these types of parenting terms that I discussed dysfunctional is that the cons outweigh the pros. And the only way to balance that scale off is to learn how to better your parenting style. And of course, that takes sessions with someone qualified to help you, etc. But with all that aside, now we're going to discuss the negative effects that come out of tiger parenting. First off, it is an unsustainable, unrealistic type of parenting style because it gives absolutely no room for human failure. And given no room for failure for a human who has human error is just a recipe for disaster. These types of children more than likely grow up into adults that resent their parents, because when they do achieve a certain level of independence, they hold that resentment for that kind of parenting style. The fact that they may not have had a social life when they were younger, they missed out on their child years, their teenage years, for different reasons, and especially if abuse is related and grand consequences was associated with poor performance. Although these types of children have very productive and responsible lives, basically they miss a holistic picture because they are very well put together and established within the educational and the occupational realm, but in the other aspects of life, be it social life, personal life, mental health, achieving their goals, achieving their passions, looking outside of the prestigious jobs, having hobbies. These children also grow up with very poor social skills because they weren't allowed to socialize. Their routines were always fixated on either their books or on their sporting activities. So they have very poor social skills and very poor social lives. These types of people very rarely make it towards self-actualization. And that is because you can't only become self-actualized by accomplishing a particular occupational position. There are many other aspects towards self-actualization, more so if it's a career that you're not passionate about, you were just good at it. And also the pressure that comes with tiger parents for not just success when you're a child in education, but also attaining a particular job that they place on a pedestal. So they choose your job technically. So even when you accomplish a particular stage of success, it was still carved out. it still didn't have your wants and your needs and your little sparks and passions and interests in hand. So these people tend to not become self-actualized in their life, which is very sad, because self-actualization should be a goal for everyone. These types of children also have a very fragile self-esteem, because the way that they feel about themselves and the positive feelings that they feel towards themselves are always linked towards success of some form. So any falter from that success, if the child gets an A or a B and they are accustomed getting an A+, their self-esteem goes tumbling down, because they only value themselves based on their competencies within that particular realm. Also, self-esteem is way more than just school. So if you are only programmed to be seen as a student or a worker, you fail to appreciate yourself and your uniqueness. What is unique about you? You can get an A, but everybody else can get an A. So having high self-esteem means that you appreciate your uniqueness, you recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and you appreciate different aspects about who you are and the effect that you have on people and things. These types of children have very poor mental health. Why? Because they don't tend to any of the other gardens. Their parents don't give them leisure time. They don't give them even rewards for when they do good. They don't get a rest. They don't get to take care of their mental health. It's completely neglected. And these types of children tend to be those children that commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide at a young age. Why? These situations come about either by too much pressure, or if they really did fail an exam, or a very big exam is coming up and there's so much pressure and they just feel like they either are a failure or they are going to fail and be a failure, they may just choose to take their life, because children do not have the emotional stability to know that these experiences, be it an exam or childhood trauma, only last for a short period of time. So my tiger parents out there, my message to you is this: have reasonable and balanced expectations for your child's abilities. Base them on their age, base them on their stage, and understand that childhood is not just about academic success. Yes, it sets them up for a very good future, but that is not the only thing that they need. That's not the only pillar that they need to hold their boat up. Academics is not the only important thing in this life and in your child's life. And please take the time to understand your children, and also understand your different children if you do have more than one child. Certain children may have particular abilities, be it physical or academic abilities, and it will be very poor on the side of the other children, for you to cast that expectation across the board for all the children. All children are very unique and different in their own way. They have their own strengths that you as a parent should help cultivate, whatever that may be. We live in a world that you can make money from a lot of things, and you can have a job based in a lot of fields. So take the time to get to know your child. Let them do some career development sessions with someone qualified to better understand their personalities and matching particular career options, and of course choosing particular subjects in alignment for those career options. And that's going to wrap up tiger parenting, and we're going to move on to free range parenting now. So the term free range parenting stems from, of course, where my mind went to when I heard it: free range chickens. So within free range chickens, now I'm not an expert in farming, but they get to run wild, which is basically the philosophy behind free range parenting. Some view free range parenting as neglectful parents, but in no way do free range parents lack a certain level of love or care for their children. It is seen as a form of independence on the children's path with very limited to no parental supervision. It is the aspect of giving your children freedom without you as the parent worrying. It is seen as a way to cultivate autonomy and responsibility for self and the decisions that one makes as a child. Parents view natural consequences as the best teacher, so in instead of telling them what to do or what not to do, or being there to ensure that they make the right decision or don't get into harm or a problem, they view those situations as teachable moments, and they just let natural things take its course. And if they get themselves in trouble, if they get cut, if they have to face a conflictful situation, that they will figure out how to deal with it. And the parents just don't worry. They don't put that negative energy in their mind when their children are out of their sight. And free range parenting done in the best way should manifest in particular ways as the children get older. But there are some free range parents that have the same level of parental or limited parental supervision at any developmental stage. So that means a toddler, a child, a teenager, and a young adult. They just let their children figure it out. Now, understand that free-range parenting is also a modern type of parenting. It came out recently. It's a new philosophy, a new way of approaching parenting. So, there are very interesting reasons behind why parents choose this type of parenting style. First off, sometimes it comes from them experiencing a very controlling environment within their own childhood, and them always thinking that, you know what, I want to do it very different for my children, and I grew up under so much rules and regulations and routines that when I become a parent, I'm just going to let them be free and let them enjoy their life because I couldn't as well. Now, there are some parents that believe self-confidence and self-sufficiency is only created when the child is allowed to be independent. So in order for them to choose that they want to build that skill in their children, they choose free-range parenting style to allow them to act independently with the intention of them building their confidence and building their self-sufficiency. They also want their children to learn how to cope with life. They know, or they may perceive the world in a way where it's a hard knock life out there. You know, it's tough out there, the world is hard, people aren't nice, humans aren't nice, the corporate world is a dog-eat-dog world, social media is just a host for cyberbullying, and you know, just the world has just gone to just, and they just want their children to be prepared. They don't want their children to grow up in a bubble. They don't want their children to be cotton wool children, and they want their children to be able to cope with what they're going to have to when they become adults. So why not start from now and let them build those skills and learn those lessons so that when they do become adults, they are better capable of handling these situations and being on their own. And there are also parents that see this type of parenting being the way for their children to achieve ultimate happiness. They want their children to have free, amazing childhood years with great experiences with friends and adventures and playing outside. And because of that, they see that the only way to allow a child to be a child and to be as happy as they can be is to adopt the free-range parenting style. So of course, this type of parenting is going to come with its pros and its cons. So I'll discuss its pros first. First off, of course, these types of children are very independent people. These children have very good interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. They have amazing social skills, amazing communication skills. They are very active. They tend to be very independent. They have critical thinking. They have problem solving. These social skills that are cultivated when you are acting independently as a child. And let me just focus on that active life point that I mentioned. Free-range children tend to have more of an active life compared to a child parented in another way. Parents that are very controlling tend to have children with very sedentary lives. They sit on the couch, or they watch TV, or they stay home, or they sleep in, whatever makes them stay home, stay under the parental supervision. Whereas free-range children tend to be outdoors, or be in sporting activities, or be playing with neighborhood children, or have their friends over, or be over by their friends, and be out doing some skateboarding, or even climbing a tree. So given all the pros they're like, let's focus on the cons now. Children that are parented in a free-range way tend to be very unsafe, meaning they get themselves in a lot of trouble. Either physical safety is compromised when they're playing and they may break a bone or they may get a cut. They may sometimes get in trouble with the law if they are teenagers and they get caught doing some form of delinquent activity. They also tend to have routines where they do transportation publicly on their own, so that brings a whole host of safety problems. And these types of children living in this day and age, they also face a lot of safety problems on the internet because there is no supervision, or there are no rules as to what social media platforms they need to be on and what they should post and what they shouldn't post and who they should talk to. All these lack of rules tend to open them up for their safety to be compromised. They tend to have a very adult mindset or an adult entitlement at a very young age because their parents treat them equally and see them on that same level as them. They don't really, well, they may encounter, a big word, they may encounter problems with authority figures. They may not have the respect, or they may want to speak to them on the same level, but those authority figures aren't the free range parents that they have back home, so they may get into conflict with them. And of course, if they get into conflict with different authority figures, those authority figures may range from teachers to law and police officers. These types of children are opened up to poor decision making, and in poor decision making, they tend to learn the negative consequences of a decision after the fact, when they already get the negative consequence. So it may set up children for coming out of their teenage years already having a tarred reputation. These parents may encounter problems with those particular child's rights and any legal documents pertaining to how a child should be parented. So let's put that into context. If a free range parent decides, oh, well, you wake up, you're not feeling to go to school, well, it's your choice. And in some particular countries, that can actually get you in trouble if your child doesn't attend school, because it is seen that the children have to attend school according to the laws. So these types of parents very often run into problems with the laws pertaining to child protection services, social services, and so on. And also, this type of parenting is associated with a lot of shame in society. It is seen as a hippie form or an irresponsible form of parenting. So these types of parents face a lot of shame and a lot of alienation. So parents need support to raise a child. A village raises a child. So if people alienate this child or don't want their children to be associated with this child, or shame the parents and don't create a friendship with the parents, or actually make the parent feel like they're making bad decisions, this takes away the support system that children need. So my little 2 cents of advice to free range parents are: it is very important for you to assess the age and stage of your child and base their boundaries and freedom levels on that. Understand that you can't just leave a toddler alone. That bridges into neglect, because a toddler can get themselves in a lot of danger, harm, and if they eat the wrong thing, there's a lot of other whirlwind of negative consequences. So base your freedom, or the freedom that you give your children, on their developmental stages. Take into account the safety of where they are, the friends that they're with, the settings that they're on, and social media. Do not just be a free range parent. I mean, I can't tell you how to parent, but I don't advise free range parenting as it pertains to social media, because there are a lot of predators on the internet. So you open your child up to being preyed on by these predators if you aren't aware of what's going on and what they're doing and what social media platforms that they're on, or what are they posting, the conversations that they're having, to make sure that they are being safe and they're not in the face of danger as a result of your decisions. Because I will not like any parents to have to live with that form of regret or what if or could have. And that wraps up free range parenting, and now we move on to Latch-Key Children. The name Latch-Key originates from the concept of these children walking with their own house key, either to open up for themselves or to close behind themselves when they're leaving or when they're coming in the home. So Latch-Key children are left alone either for a particular set amount of hours or even overnight. There are a lot of reasons why latchkey children exist, and they exist now more than ever. Hence this term latchkey being a more recent introduction into that terminology of parenting. Why are there children that are left alone? Why are there children that are walking with their own house key to either open up for themselves or to close the gate behind themselves? First off, working parents. If these parents have a particular job that require them to leave the house in the morning before their children leave for school, then they're just gonna have to leave. Or if their work asks them to work late hours, if they work a night shift job, all of these put the children in a space where they are unsupervised and requires the parents to be out of the house tending to their jobs. Also, single parent households have a lot of latchkey children, especially of course if the single parent is working. If they're working, there's nobody else to supervise them. If it's just them, they have to make ends meet, and that may require sacrifices, and that sacrifice being their supervision on their children. So of course there are both positive and negative effects to these latchkey children. So I'm going to discuss the positive ones first. These children have much greater responsibility than other children. They have more life skills. Some of these children are expected sometimes to cook, sometimes to clean, and if they are an elder sibling, they're expected to babysit, so that is child rearing. All of these life skills that they develop at a very young age. Also critical thinking, problem solving, because they are independent at a particular point. Also, if they are responsible, they cultivate time management skills, because there is nobody there to tell them do this, do that, do your homework, clean the house, go to sleep at a proper time. And these children also have high self-esteem, because they are given a lot of trust and they are given a lot of responsibility with the expectation that they can fulfill it. And obviously the more independently you act, the higher your self-esteem may be, because your parents basically see you as being capable of doing more than you should even have to as a child. So that kind of puts a cap on the positive effects. I'm sure they may have one or two more, but there is of course a way more off balance of negative effects that we're going to discuss now. First off, their home becomes a hub for delinquent behavior. Mommy and daddy, or mommy is not going to be home between this hour and this hour. You know that no way she's going to be home because she's at work, unless she comes home abruptly, which very rarely happens, and if she does, she might probably call you and tell you that she's leaving work early. But other than that, you know that your home is free for you to do anything with anyone, have friends over, indulge in alcohol and drugs, abuse the technology, use technology unsupervised, go and surf the internet and look at whatever you want to look at because your parents aren't home. So that's one huge negative impact, that your home, your unsupervised home, becomes a hub for delinquent behavior. And to tie into that delinquent behavior, they also become more vulnerable for peer pressure, because there is no contemplation of the accountability towards the parents, because the parents are not around. So the encouragement becomes easier. Oh, your mom not around, your dad not around, let's do this, or let's try this. I also want to highlight that point made on more access to technology. The internet is a very scary place, and you all not being around that, you all being parents, not being around opens them up for that. That those are times where if they want to go and meet somebody that they like on the internet, they can leave the home and nobody will even know if they leave the home. If they having conversations with these predators, the time to do that will be when you all are not home. If they want to have somebody over based on, again, a catfishing scenario, if they want to take provocative pictures, if they want to take provocative videos, if it is they want to have a provocative video call, if they want to look at pornography, like there's a whole long list of the things that these children can do during that unsupervised time on the internet. The internet is a very scary place, so parents leaving them unsupervised on their devices, and you don't even have to be this type of parent. Any parent that is leaving their children unsupervised, not looking at their devices, not putting time limits, not looking and doing a quick little flip through as a responsible parent to make sure that they're looking at the right things and having the right conversations, telling them how to deal with catfishing scenarios, all of these things, especially if you make a decision as a parent to give your child technological devices at a very young age. That is a big alert. So please, as parents, be aware of your children's activities on social media. Talk to them about the dangers of the internet and social media. It's a very scary world out there, and once they're in it, it's really hard to undo things that are done. If no adult is home when a fire happens, if somebody breaks in, if a natural disaster happens, if they are coming into the home, opening up for themselves, or leaving the homes and closing themselves, and some predator notices, of course it opens up the realm for kidnapping. Also, another negative effect that can happen in particular towards the eldest or the most responsible child, they can be overpressured. If too much is expected from them, that being child rearing for the younger siblings, or housekeeping or cooking, it takes them away from, first of all, their own freedom that they're entitled to and that they have the right to as a child, and it also takes away from their time to invest into their academics and their school and their homework and their leisure time and their downtime. So the eldest and the most responsible child tends to experience a lot of pressure that really tries on their mental health. So to close off on Latch-Key Children, I'm going to give some advice and pointers to parents out there that really have no choice. I sympathize with you, and just heed these tips. It's going to help you, because sometimes you don't have another choice for to not have your children as Latch-Key Children, especially if you're a single parent. So just pay attention to these points that I'm going to give. It's going to help save you from a lot of the possible negative effects that come with Latch-Key Children. It's very important to assess age appropriateness. You have to have a child that is old enough to legally be home alone, old enough to handle an unexpected incident. Take into account what age your child is, and of course the ages of your children. To have a very young teenager looking at a very newborn baby, that is not very age appropriate, so take that into account. Have particular rules and routines and establish them. Discuss them with your child, the do's and don'ts of when it is you are not home, and have particular routines. When you reach home at this time, you have to bathe at this time, you have to clean at this time, you have to do your homework at this time, you have to go to bed at this time. Also within that routine, you have to call me at this time, or I am going to call you at this time and you're going to have to answer the phone, or call auntie or call granny at this time. All of these particular routines, one, to make sure that they get what they have to get done properly. Two, to make sure that they don't have much idle time. Also, I suggest supervise entries and departures from the home, and by that I mean encourage a neighbor, of course a neighbor that you trust, to keep an eye out for your child when they are leaving the home or when they are coming into the home. If you do not have this option, a suggestion that I can make is to be on the phone with your child when they are coming into the house or when they are leaving the house, just to ensure that if something happens during that time, you would know and you will hear it on the phone, and you can act swiftly rather than hours passing and then realizing that, or even waiting for you to come back home and realizing that something happened earlier on that, you know, was time sensitive. There's just a scary world out there, so just take these things into account. Have particular emergency plans. So an emergency, if a fire happens, what to do if a fire happens, what to do if electricity goes, what to do if there's an earthquake, a particular meeting ground, a particular plan that either you are coming to meet them there or they are coming to meet you somewhere. Have these particular emergency plans put in place rather than just waiting for the moment to arise and realizing that you'll never had a plan or they don't know what to do and how to do it. Child-proof your house, especially if you have young children. So don't leave knives around or sharp objects around or flammable objects around or matches low down, especially again if you have young children. If your child has to take transportation without you to get to school or get back from school, first of all have a plan A and a plan B. By that I mean this particular person is always going to pick you up. If this person can't make it, only this other person is going to come for you. If that changes, you call, and that's the only way that that's going to change. But this is to ensure that your child isn't picked up from some random person that comes and says, oh well, mommy told me to pick you up today, something happened and she got caught up and I'm picking you up today. If you know that you have random people that do pick up your child, maybe come up with a password system, meaning a particular word that the driver will tell the child, and when that child hears that word, they know that only people that mommy told to pick me up knows that word. So again, take into account safety, because that is, these particular situations is where kidnappings come about, when they get picked up and they're told, oh well, mommy sent me, or yes, auntie so and so sent me. And that's just a child being a simple naive child. You know, you can't get upset with them, and this is why you as the responsible parent has to take these steps to ensure their safety. I also encourage these types of parents to look into co-curricular activities, especially during the hours that they have to be out of the house. So instead of leaving your child unattended at home, maybe let them join a sporting activity or a particular club, so that when you finish work, they finish their activities, or they're simply not at home for so long. Instead of being at home alone for 6 hours, you get them in something for 3 hours, and then they're home 3 hours instead. And lastly, I recommend that these parents show some appreciation instead of expectations for their children. Appreciate them and verbally express that appreciation to them, because some parents get caught up in this expectation. Well, I am your parent and I don't have to provide this for you, or I am working hard and because I'm working hard you have to do this. No. Children have rights that parents that decide to make a child have to respect where their children is concerned. So if you have a child that is a latchkey child, is the eldest, is the most responsible, complies with the routines that you have, you reach home, the house isn't in a mess, you know that they aren't gallivanting all over the place, appreciate them, tell them thank you, positively reinforce them, tell them that they're very responsible and you are happy that you can trust them. And that way they're going to feel even more encouraged to be responsible, and that is going to positively impact their self-esteem, of course. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned something. Feel free to share your thoughts, your comments, constructive criticism, positive reinforcement in the comments. Feel free to suggest any topics that you would like me to talk about. I will be more than happy to deliver what you want to hear about. So I will see you all guys soon. Blessings to you all. Spread some light, spread some compliments, and share this video with any parents, upcoming parents, anybody, to any social media platform, because we really need to take parenting as a very big responsibility. We are shaping the upcoming generation. Whether you planned it or you didn't plan it, you're a parent and you have a responsibility towards this child. So I will see you all guys soon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and yeah, bye. Love that I'm feeling. Let this be a good one, Lord Father. Let's go smooth. And that way it is culturally free range parenting is. No, I'm getting this point down properly. Things, they lack the holistic picture. Like I'm babbling on. They grew up in very poor social